Great morning, unity of Brooklyn, friends, and spiritual family. It's great to be together again this morning. And I want to thank all of our team members and all of our readers who helped to facilitate the service this morning. Well, last week, if you remember, we talked about talents and gifts and purpose. We said that talents were skills that were learned. We learn them. Sometimes someone has taught them to us. Sometimes we learn in school, and sometimes by reading or by watching videos. But talents are skills that we learn, and we go on and learn to perfect them. Gifts are part of our spiritual endowment, we said. I'm going to talk more about that. And then our purpose is our very reason for being here on this planet and in this life. The topic of talents, gifts, and purpose is very, very important. It's vitally important. And so I'm led this morning to delve a little bit more deeply into spiritual gifts. And you'll see why as we move along. So let us begin by understanding and remembering that each and every person, each and every human being is endowed with gifts, gifts of God, spiritual gifts. And we are knowing that gifts are outstanding natural and innate abilities in a particular area for the purpose of serving and blessing others. And thereby, we, the gifted person, is also blessed. So these are natural and innate abilities. No one taught it to us. We didn't go to school to learn it. It's natural. It's something that we do naturally in a specific area, and we do it over and over and over again, and we love doing it, and we serve doing it. We bless others by doing it, and because we bless others, we are blessed. The blessing comes through us. No training, no formal learning necessary. We just do it naturally. And we do it with love and the greatest of ease. Now, unlike gifts in the area of academics and sciences and languages and humanities, spiritual gifts can more easily go unrecognized. Spiritual gifts, unlike the gifts that we learn in the talents, spiritual gifts can go more easily unrecognized or sometimes even taken for granted. It's important to recognize our giftedness is tied to our sense of well-being, our prosperity, and especially our prosperity in the areas of relationships and finances. Now remember the three areas of life: health, finances, and relationships. The three areas of life, everything that we say, we do, that we have done, falls into one of those areas: health, finances, and relationships. And our giftedness, our spiritual gifts, and how we use these gifts and how we live in this gifted area is directly tied to the way in which we prosper in relationships and finances. Prosperity is not only money, but the way we prosper in our relationships and our finances. Spiritual gifts is tied to, and how we use or not using our spiritual gifts is related to the relationships that we create in our life, as well as our finances. You might be saying, why is that? Or how is that? Well, when we are working in the sphere of our spiritual gifts, of our endowments, our spiritual endowments, it helps us to live a more gratified and fulfilling life. And it helps us to feel that gratification and that fulfillment in what we're investing the majority of our time and our energy doing. And we're more likely to develop and have a deeper relationship with God because we're in spiritual alignment with God. When we are working in our gifted area, we are in alignment with the God within ourselves. And we become a happier person on the outside. And we express that. And because we express that, we draw more to us. We draw happy people to us. We draw people who want to be around us. And so our relationships become richer. Our finances increase. Why? Because we are free. We love what we're doing. We're working in our gifted area. We could do it all day long, as I've said before, sometimes forgetting to stop to eat. We can do it all day long. We feel that freeness, that liberation. And so we're prospering more in our relationships and in our finances. And we don't have the stress. We're not expressing or feeling the stress that may be expressed if we're doing something just to be doing it, or doing something just to earn the money, or doing something just because we have to. When we're working in our gifted area, we're not doing what we have to, we're doing what we love, we're doing what naturally comes to us, what we've been blessed with so that we can bless and serve others. And we're living a more peace-filled and life with better relationships with self, with God, and with others. Think with me for a moment of a young child, anywhere from the age of birth to 6 years of age. Maybe children that we've raised, or children that we've helped others to raise or worked with, or children that we know. How often do we affirm, you know, this child is gifted? Even when we see them doing something and demonstrating something that's out of the ordinary for their age group. How often do we look at that and say, and observe that several times and say, this child is gifted? Most of the time, what we say is, he or she is an old soul. We don't say they're gifted. We say they're an old soul. Sometimes we say, you know, this one over here, they've been here before. We don't say they're gifted. We say they've been here before. Even though we see them consistently demonstrating something that comes with ease, that they do naturally, that no one taught them, how do we address that? And how do we see that? And how do we act on that as the adult that's guiding them in their growing? Most of the time, when we look at our children, we focus on their talents. Think about that. We focus on their talents, the learned skills, and we rush them off to music lessons, or we put them in the martial arts, and we have them in dance class, or we have them in athletics. And all of that is good because it helps to develop a more rounded, a well-rounded person. All of that is good, but those are talents. Are we looking at their gifts? And do we really study these young ones and really look at what it is they do naturally? Do we listen to them as they talk and express the ideas in these areas? And you know, such it is with us as adults as well. Do we really take the time to study ourselves and really know and perform in our spiritually gifted areas? Do we? Well, I want to talk with you a moment about a scripture, and you may want to go back later on after service and just look at this scripture for yourself. It comes from 1 Corinthians 12, verse 1, and then verses 4 through 11. And this particular portion of scripture is speaking to spiritual gifts. comes from the book of Corinthians, and Corinthians is one of the 13 Pauline epistles. They're called Pauline epistles because they're written by the Apostle Paul, and they're written to the people of Corinth in general, and the people more specifically in the church in Corinth that was being built. Corinth, a city in Greece. You see, the people were fussing with each other. You know how we get as human beings sometimes. And they were fussing with each other, and everyone wants to one up. Everybody wants to go up. Everybody wants to one up. And so these folks are fussing with each other about the gifts, and they're saying that this gift is more important than that gift, and that gift is more important than this gift. And so Paul writes this epistle, writes this letter to the people concerning spiritual gifts. And he says, now about the gifts of spirit, brothers and sisters, I do not want you to be uninformed. And then down in verse 4 and going on, he says, there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone, it is the same God at work. He goes on to say, now to each one, the manifestation of Spirit is given for the common good. The manifestation of Spirit, the utilization and demonstration and living of the gift is given for the common good, not for selfish good, to use for me, but for the common good, and therefore I prosper as well because it comes up and through me. To one there is given the spirit of a message of wisdom, intuitiveness, the message of wisdom. To another, the message of knowledge, understanding, by means of the same Spirit, he says. And to another, faith, by the same Spirit. To another, gifts of healing by the same Spirit, that's wholeness. To another, miraculous powers by the same Spirit. And to another, prophecy, that's visionary, being a visionary, by the same Spirit. To another, distinguishing between spirits, discernment, by the same Spirit. And to another, speaking in different tongues, he says. And metaphysically, speaking in different tongues means that we are comfortable communicating with all people on all levels. That means that we can communicate with using a cultural dialect with our friends from the same culture, or we are comfortable communicating with kings and queens. Speaking in tongues. It does not mean gibberish. It means the ability to communicate with all people at all levels in life and being comfortable with that. And then he goes on to say, and still another, the interpretation of tongues. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit and are distributed to each. Now, we don't want to be dogmatic and think that in this portion of scripture, these are the only gifts, because they are not. These are just some of the gifts that Paul is mentioning. Maybe you have the gift, and maybe you've been endowed with the gift of hospitality. You know, folks who just love people to come by and visit. Oh, have a cup of tea. Oh, I baked the cake. Have a piece of cake. Or as we sometimes say, have a piece of my cake. Or I just prepared a meal. Please share this meal with me. We have some on this line today who are gifted in hospitality. They love serving in that way. Maybe you have the gift of administration and you love serving in that way. Maybe you have the gift of encouragement and you love serving in that way. Maybe you have the gift of teaching and you love serving in that way. Whatever it is you love to do, and you can just do it all day long, and you do it well, and you just do it naturally, and no one necessarily taught it to you. You didn't necessarily go out and look for it and begin to do it. And yes, you may learn more about it as you're doing it. You may take some training to sharpen that gift as life goes along. But initially, that gift was within you. It was not taught to you. It is what you do naturally, and you love giving. Now, when we're expressing spiritual giftedness, it requires that our connectedness and our attunement with what is immaterial be more highly favored than the ego's intellectual analysis of one's experiences. Let's break that down. When we are expressing in our gifted area, we are more attuned, more in alignment, and more connected with the non-material world than we are with the ego's intellectual analysis. You know how the ego can be at times. The ego will take something and try to analyze it and analyze it and analyze it and analyze it and analyze it. Most of the time, it's not acted upon. It's just analyzed and thought about. You ever had something where I'm thinking about it? Yeah, I'm going to think about it. Well, when I'm getting ready to do it, well, I have to give it some more thought. Or I'm praying on it, and 3 months, 6 months, a year, I'm praying on it, and that's the work of the ego. That is not the work of spirit. That's not the work of God. It's the work of the intellect. And underneath it, if you start peeling away the layers of that, you peel away the layers of I'm waiting, I'm working, I'll see, I'll let you know. If you peel away those layers from that constant kind of responses, underneath all of that is fear. Fear of the unknown. And so when we are expressing these spiritual gifts, fear and regret and anxiety and self-consciousness, they're not in the picture because they don't coexist when we're expressing the spiritual gifts. Because when we're expressing the spiritual gifts, we are expressing God. We are God in action when we are expressing our gifts. We are, as folks say, in the zone when we are expressing our gifts. We are on the go. We're just doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And other folks who know us will say, you know what? They're really good at that. Look at that person. Can't you see that they love what they're doing? When we're working in our gifted area, it involves that we transcend self-centered thoughts, needs and wants and actions by serving the common good. And by serving the common good, we are automatically blessed as well. We tend to think of people who are gifted as Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We say that he was a gifted orator, and he was. That he demonstrated the gift of compassion, and he did. We think of people like Mother Teresa, who was blessed with the gift of compassion as well. But the truth of the matter is, each and every one of us is blessed. Each and every one of us is blessed with a spiritual gift. The spiritual teacher and author Gary Zukuk, and you may know Gary. He speaks to authentic power. And in speaking to authentic power, he says that authentic power is the alignment of our personality with our soul. And remember, personality is not the real us. Personality is the way we express who we think we are, or whatever we're expressing. Personality is the way we express. And so he says that authentic power is the alignment of our personality and our soul. It's when the personality is used to serve the soul. Instead of the soul serving the personality serves the soul. Meaning that when our personality and our soul purpose for being here is at one, is in alignment, he says that is authentic empowerment. So when we are utilizing our gifts and we express those gifts with such a loving personality, through a loving personality, that's the soul expressing itself. We think of people like Oprah, who knows her gifts, she knows her talents, she knows her purpose, and she expresses it with love. Her personality is loving. And so because she's giving that off, she's giving off that energy of love that just naturally comes through her soul, people love her. People love her, and more people love her. And that energy comes back to her because that's the energy that she's giving out, and that's what comes back, giving and receiving. We too have that ability, but we've got to become clear on what our gifts are in order to express them consistently, and live in the area of demonstrating and expressing our good gifts and expressing them for the common good. So how do we discover what our gifts might be? Well, my friends, it requires investing quiet time in prayer and or meditation, communing with the higher spirit within, and listening. But I believe that the majority of us already know what our gifts are, but that we're questioning ourselves. Is it it? Is this it? And it's not always just one. We can be multi-gifted. I believe that the majority of us know our gifts already, but we question ourselves, and sometimes we don't perform in confidence because we're questioning ourselves. And you see, when we are speaking with God within concerning our gifts, our endowment, our spiritual endowment, the gifts that we have, the powerful gifts that we have, and we know and we hear from God, and we go to God with the intention, the specific intention of wanting to be certain. And then we hear and we get this heightened awareness of what our gifts are. That's not enough. We can't stop there. That is not enough. This gift is ours to serve. This gift, these gifts are ours to serve. They're not ours to keep, they're ours to give. And the more we give them, the more we share them with others, the more prospered we become. Think about this. If you knew you were gifted with whatever gift it might be, and you stayed in the house, you locked yourself in the house for years and years and years, and you never shared that gift with someone else, you would not receive in return. You could not receive at the volume. Maybe you could receive through phone calls and texting and emails, but you would not receive in the volume that you would receive when you were out there in the world giving and giving and giving. And maybe perhaps you're at the point in life where you're not out as much, but there has been a time in the past when you were out there and you blessed many people by the sharing and the giving of that gift that was given to you and to me. And because you did that, you are still receiving. You are still receiving. you are still receiving all of the love and all of the blessings that have come from that, all of the results that have come from all of that that you have built and given and shared are gifts. You see, we become certain of our gifts not by sitting still, not by locking ourselves in. We become certain of our gifts by serving. If you think that you have the gift of hospitality, and then you step out to employ that gift, and you find out that you don't like serving people, you don't like working with people, you don't just get away from me, then that's not your gift. We will learn what is certainly our gift through serving, doing. Do not allow the ego to fool you with its intellect, telling you that something is your gift and you have not utilized that gift. You have not put it into practice, so you really don't know. But when we get out there and we start sharing our gifts and serving the common good, serving the masses of people, serving in your community, serving in your church, serving in your home, serving in your building, serving in your block. When we start serving, we know our gift. By trade, my father was a tailor and made most of our clothes. By trade, that was a talent. His gift was community organizing. And I've told the story several times that he would take me with him to community meetings and taught me how to take notes. People would sit in the meeting and say, we need more days of garbage collection, sanitation collection. And he would turn to me and he would say, you got that? Write that down. And then we would leave the meeting and go to another meeting. And then he would take all of that information and go to the agency, the city agency, and just fight for people. You see, his gift was serving people. His skill was tailoring. What is your gift? Have you taken the time? Have you invested time with God within to know that gift and use that gift to serve? Because the more you serve, the more you will be blessed, and it will show up in your relationships and your finances. Happy people are serving people. Happy people are serving people. Happy people feel freer and less burdened and respond differently to the issues of life, because we all have issues and we're going to have issues. But people who are happy with what they're doing because they're serving in their gifted area respond to the issues differently. They see the opportunities in the issues and circumstances, and not the woe is me in the issues and circumstances. So your gift is a constant urge. It's a passion. It's a burning desire that I just have to get this. I have to do this. I have to get this done. Oh, I love doing this. I could do it all day and all night. You may not even say that to yourself. You may just do it all day and all night. Working in that gifted area. It's our mission and our purpose, and it's fulfilling and exciting. And we become certain of what those gifts are through doing, through serving. And so, my friends, as we move through this week, it's not enough to just think about this. We have to act on it. We have to act on it. And I promise you that when we know our gift and we act on it, we're living our life's purpose at that point, because that's what we have come here to do. And that's a tool. Think of it as a tool. We have come here for a specific purpose, and we have the tool to get that purpose done. The tool is the gift. The other tools are talents. We learn them along the way. But we came here already with the tool that was needed, or the tools that was needed to get the job done, to get the work done. And so when we walk through life and we spend a lot of time not being happy, it's because we are not using the tools that we have been giving to express and receive what is ours to receive. And we don't have, even if we're working at home at this point, we are still expressing our gifts in one way or another. We don't stop. We're expressing our gifts in a different way. So we may not be in the physical space of people every day, but we're still communicating with people through emails and text messages and telephone conversations and letters we're writing. We're still communicating with people in some way, fashion, or form. So we still have the opportunity to express and utilize those gifts. I guarantee you that you will not be a happy person if you don't identify and express your gifts. People will refer to you as miserable, cantankerous, unhappy. Stay away from them. Don't call that person, because you know what you're going to hear when you call them. That's what folks will say. And why is that? Because we haven't identified that gift. We have not used that gift to the extent that we can because we haven't identified it. And therefore, we have not experienced the level of fulfillment, gratification, and being content that we could experience when we know the gift, we know the tool, and we use the tool for the common good, not just for self, but for the common good. For those of us who have children or grandchildren or neighbors' children or family members young children who are in the public school system, I would encourage you to request and complete the application for the GT testing, GT, Gifted and Talented Testing Programs, and get a better idea after having observed these children what their gifts are, and get them started early. Let them not reach the point where we are as adults and still question, what are my spiritual gifts? What are my spiritual gifts? And so I encourage you to continue to dig deeply. Continue to talk to God within. That's where the answers lie. Continue to know, to ask, to seek, and you will find. And you will find out what area you're supposed to be working in. It has nothing, as we said last week, to do with age. It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with ethnicity. It has nothing to do with where we are geographically on the planet. It has to do with seeking and finding and knowing and activating that which we have been given to do. And then we are living life on purpose. And we don't waste a lot of time and energy doing this, do it 5 years here, 10 years there, 5 years here, 2 years there. We are on purpose when we know our gift. And each day we can say to ourselves in the morning, what is on my schedule for today? Is it in alignment with my gift and purpose? If it is not, do I really need to be doing that? And at the end of the day, we feel fulfilled and gratified because what we have done to serve others is our purpose for being here. However we have done it, whatever that gift might be. And only you can know. Others can kind of allude to it, but only you can know for sure. And you know that through prayer and meditation and contemplation and speaking with your God within, and then going out to utilize it, doing and serving. God bless you. I bless you. And so it is. Namaste.